Ah, there you are. You join me again on my epic journey from London to Glasgow, doing it exactly as it would have been done 50 years ago when this car was built, this lovely car. Not doing the motorways, doing the old B roads, and hoping to find some of the extraordinary places and wonderful people that make Britain what Britain is.
Now, this edition promises to be a little scary. Scary for me as I show off my cooking skills in front of some very discerning villagers.
Welcome to celebrity making an arse of himself.
Scary for the world's best brass band as they come face to face with a potential new recruit.
Nope.
And scary for anyone who chooses this place for a peaceful afternoon walk.
I've always wanted to do this.
And if all that isn't enough to frighten the pants off you, meet Betty, the menacing mayoress.
It's here, for goodness sake. Open your eyes and look around. Yeah. That was never cooked in a farmhouse kitchen. Do you mind?
Avoiding motorways once more, on the second leg of my road trip, I'll be travelling from Cambridgeshire through Leicestershire and on into Yorkshire. It's week 2 of my journey, and do you know what? I've fallen in love.
Drives like a dream, this. I mean, God, you think it's 1957. It's exactly half a century old. Drives like a sweetheart.
Make a cup of tea or something. I really am smitten.
The great thing about an open car is that you become part of the scenery. You're part of the road. You're not in some wee quiet box. It's pointless listening to the radio. And you feel the weather. You can smell forests when you go through forests. It's a completely different experience.
Sadly, not everything's as fragrant as the weather. I have got a film crew in tow, after all. But when it comes to smells, even they can't match the town I'm about to visit. It gave its name to one of the smelliest foods you can buy. Actually, I'm being unfair. Stilton the place doesn't smell. Stilton the cheese most definitely does. But the locals are proud of it. And once a year they hold a competition in which teams from miles around race each other down the high street, rolling blocks of wood in the shape of the local delicacy. It's all mad. For the locals, this is bigger than Christmas. Everyone gets dressed up and uses the event as an excuse to go down the pub. That includes the reigning champions who've been doing their training in the Bell Inn.
Hello. How you doing?
Nice to meet you. Lovely to see you here.
Are you all trained up?
Oh, yes.
So, what do you think your chances are this year, boys? Have you put any money on it?
I'm extremely confident about success. I can't see anyone beating us. We're going to do it again.
It means a lot that the cheese still stays in Stilton. It does mean a lot. It's a local event and we'd like to keep it here.
Now, what could be more quintessentially English than a rainy summer's day, fancy dress and an eccentric village tradition? Let's ask this team of cheese rollers, who all come from Poland.
So, what does it mean to you to be involved in this?
Well, for us it's a very, very nice day out. We've been here for 7 years, every year. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose.
In fact, there are quite a few Poles amongst the 1,000 spectators, and it's always nice to have a chat with them.
Exactly. How often I've said that myself, I know.
Gentlemen, can you touch the cheeses, please?
Oh, the cheeses.
The cheeses. Are you ready?
Time to see what this sport is all about. The reigning champions are the first into action.
It's all happening. And the team's chasing them. Come on, guys. You let us down.
Maybe all that training down at the Bell wasn't such a good idea, chaps.
Here we are, it's bad news for the chap. They're taking it terribly well, I think. Let me see your happy losing smile.
We did lose and yeah, it was sad to lose, but we'll be back next year.
So you'll be back on the training now, I expect? Yeah. Got to be done.
Are you ready?
Well, with the champions out of the race, the Polish team are now favourites. But they're being run close.
Moving fast.
Whoa.
There's the pole. Let's wait for the referee. My word. I don't believe it.
So it's not to be. Que sera, as they say in Poland, if they speak Spanish in Poland, if you know what I mean.
So, very close.
Very close.
Yeah, enjoy that day. We'll be back, definite. We want revenge.
Cheers, thanks very much. Thanks for the fun, chaps.
Anyway, winning's not really what this is all about. You might think that this tradition has medieval roots, but it doesn't. It's only been going for about 50 years, and I've tracked down organiser Olive Main, in the pub, obviously.
It started in 1959 when the Great North Road was diverted round the village. The bypass opened one Saturday, and by Monday the village had virtually died.
Ah, the dreaded bypass. It diverted traffic away from the village, but with it went the trade. And to put Stilton back on the map, the landlord of the Bell Inn cleverly dreamed up a public contest using the village's only remaining asset. It not only boosted business, it kept the community alive.
Cheese rolling is a catalyst. It's the one day in the year, or one of the days in the year, when we do all get together. It doesn't matter, we all let our hair down. There's nobody has any dignity left by the end of the day.
No dignity, maybe, but lots of new friends. Thanks to cheese rolling, Anglo-Polish relations have never been better.
Cheers.
Now I'm headed west to Burton-on-Trent. But this being a B road means there are always unforeseen delays.
Oh, there's a big coup. On you go, missus. No, please. In your own time, obviously.
Anyway, I'd better hurry as I need to get to church, and the vicar will certainly be on time. This is Reverend Paul Sinclair, a.k.a. the Faster Pastor. He loves his bike so much, he even takes it to work. As a devoted biker himself, Paul's always on the lookout for new bikers to join his congregation. Like this leather-clad group, the Coffin Scratchers. Brings a whole new meaning to Sunday best, don't you think?
Let us pray. We thank you, Lord, that we can have a life of motorcycling. We thank you for the great joy that brings us, the things we see, we feel, we experience, the camaraderie, and we pray for your hand upon this service tonight. Let us all be blessed. Let us leave this.
It's lovely to see people with ZZ top beards and motorcycles being accepted by the church, by the community.
But Paul does more than tend his flock in this life. When the time comes for them to meet their maker, he guarantees them a uniquely speedy send-off. Paul, you see, operates the world's only motorcycle funeral service.
When did this start then?
We've been doing this for 5 years now. We've been doing funerals for 5 years.
How did you work out that there was a demand for this, shall we say?
I was church minister in London, and I got asked to do some funerals of bikers who died.
Yeah.
And it really bothered me. We put them in the back of a car.
Yeah.
You would never give a Catholic a Protestant funeral or a Protestant a Catholic funeral. So why would you put a motorcycle through an automobile enthusiast? It doesn't make sense to me. To me, it was not set up as a business in mind. It was set up as to fulfill a need. But as you can see, there's a growing demand. So I've had to get very professional about it to be able to keep doing it.
Paul may be catering for a dying market, but business is booming. He now has 8 hearses and a choice of bikes, including this 247-mile-an-hour Suzuki Hayabusa.
I have one little thing the normal hearses don't have.
Go on.
We have these little doors here, and these open up so that if the deceased wants to be buried with his boots, it's not a problem. But you're not allowed to cremate them. So we can take his boots off, put them in here.
Just before he goes to the bad fire.
Just before he goes, and when he arrives at the crematorium with his boots in front of the coffin.
I'm completely overwhelmed by this, actually. This is so lovely. So are you not tempted sometimes just to give it a last...
Oh, we do. It's called the
Blast
last blast. We've got the only funerals that flash people out of the outside lane.
Over the years, Reverend Paul has taken dozens of unfortunate bikers to their final parking spaces. Hell's Angels bound for heaven, or so we hope. Continuing my journey along the B roads of Britain, I'm in wonderful Leicestershire. This is Mount Sorrel. Quiet, restful, sleepy even, except at lunchtime.
Yeah, we get a vibration up coming through the floor.
It's like a tremor. The ground shakes.
Every day it happens.
So what exactly is giving Mount Sorrel the shakes? Well, just a mile away from the village is this. The biggest hole in the whole of Britain. It's Mount Sorrel Granite Quarry. It's 10 times bigger than Wembley Stadium, and I'm about to make it even bigger.
It's kind of like being in a dream standing here. It's completely unlike anything you would ever encounter in your life otherwise. It's just quite extraordinary. And I'm going to get to blow a bit of it up.
Mick Stevens is the man to show me how to blast granite to smithereens. He does it for a living.
I've got to say, this is a major dream of mine.
Yeah?
Was it something you always wanted to do?
I always wanted to work at the quarry.
Did you?
I wanted to, like you say, explosives. Why not?
Why not?
Everyone wants to deal with explosives in the right manner, yeah.
And when you're in the pub or at a party and somebody says, what do you do? What do you tell them?
We tend to keep it quiet, actually.
Do you?
Yeah, we do, yeah.
How could you keep this quiet?
Right, here comes the science. To blow 25,000 tons of rock from the face of the earth, first drill 25 holes 15 meters into the ground. Add in a detonator, fill with liquid explosive.
Is it nearly 6 tons of explosive we're standing on? Well, it would be quick at least, wouldn't it?
Oh, and most important from a scientific point of view, take cover in these bunkers 100 meters away. This is it. I really am going to cause an explosion big enough to raise Buckingham Palace to the ground. Not that I'd want to, Your Majesty.
Okay, and it's that way. I've always wanted to do this. I used to love it in the movies when... Ready when you are, sir. Oh, not hard enough. You feel this, the air piling in, couldn't you?
Time to inspect my handiwork.
Look at that state of that. So how did that feel then, Robbie?
Just felt fantastic, actually. Look, just that the kind of shock, the feeling of that.
It's amazing that you feel the vibration more probably in the village. Like my kids at school at Rowflat, 2 villages away,
Yeah.
I'd have felt that probably more than what we did.
Is that so?
Yeah. When I get a big blast, the kids will say, "Good blast today, Dad."
Yeah.
You know.
Well, having caused a bit of a mess, I think I should offer to help clean up. Only around here you need a rather huge bucket and spade.
It's the biggest thing I've ever seen moving in my life.
And I'm going to have a wee shotty.
Bloody hell.
Now that's what I call an experience. The only downside was discovering that all that stone from the quarry goes to build all those bloody motorways. How ironic is that? I'm driving north into the Peak District, Britain's first national park. The limestone scenery is a spectacular treat for the eyes. And laying beyond these miles of picture postcard scenes, there's another treat for the ears.
There's an old saying in Yorkshire which has become a bit of a cliche, which is, where there's muck, there's brass. Which was true a few years ago, when all the money was made from digging holes and getting out coal. which is not true anymore, sadly. However, there's another expression you might say, which is that where there's brass, there's music.
Meet the world-famous Grimethorpe Colliery Band. These guys are the real deal. National champions and inspiration for the film Brassed Off, no less. Now, I may never pass as Ewan McGregor's body double, but I reckon I can give him a run for his money on the trumpet playing front. Because, dear viewer, I learned how to do it as a boy. Even made the school orchestra, I did.
Fantastic. Sorry, one hand, it doesn't work so well. Used to 20,000, I expect.
Once every member of the band would have worked down the pit. Today, the mine at Grimethorpe is long gone, and only a select few of the band members have served time at the coalface. Band leader Roger Webster is one of them.
A lot of people thought that once the pits went and the heavy industry went, that would be the end of the bands, but they continued.
I mean, when I first played with Grimethorpe, everyone worked at the coal mine.
Sure.
Everyone worked at Grimethorpe pit, and it was great. They rehearsed twice a week in the daytime when they were supposed to be at the pit.
Yeah.
But they were allowed time off to come and rehearse, that was great.
Yeah.
It was resented by some of the other miners, but generally they accepted it, especially when they brought a trophy home or something.
Sure, well, especially when you hear the band, and that would be enough for me.
But the big question is, will they let me join? I'd love to play in the band, but it's a long time since I did this.
Oh, whoa!
One I prepared earlier.
That is beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
What a shame I'm going to make such a horrible noise with that. I can't even remember how it goes. No. Too much kissing, not enough playing, as I believe they used to say in the orchestra. It's all coming back now. Less kissing, boys, a bit more embouchure, and we get a better tone.
Now, Roger's a non-committal man. He's secretly very impressed.
No.
Maybe I'll have a bit more luck with something a bit bigger.
Nope.
Bit bigger?
Clearly, I just don't make the grade. The band have an important gig coming up, and according to Roger, there may be an opening for a guest conductor.
And who might that be?
Well, someone that
How much
puts
money
the
do I
fear
have
of
in
living
it?
God into
Ooh,
people.
Seems there's some money in my pocket.
Oh,
here.
well, there you go.
Yeah. Can I give it a shot?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the band are kindish.
Kindish, yeah.
But before I stand any chance of being let loose on stage, I need a lesson in conducting, and pronto. I've come to Chetham's School of Music for a crash course in baton waving from Simon Threlfall. He's conducted the BBC Philharmonic, so he should know his stuff.
The trick is getting it started.
Ah, there you go.
So they need to know...
Because they're building up breath, of course.
Exactly.
There you go.
So if you do a quiet 2 out to the side,
Yeah.
2, 3, there, it should be fine.
No messing around here. It's straight in at the deep end. Cue the school band.
And your guest conductor for today?
Mr. Coltrane, the band, the band.
Hi, how are you? So
No
we're all on
pressure.
the same side, aren't we?
No pressure. Yeah, yeah. It's good.
Forgive me, it's my first day, okay? Are we all happy? Okay. So, let me rephrase that.
1, 2, 3.
Hard to believe, but they're actually following me.
Good.
Problem is, I won't have Stephen to hold my hand when I do it for real.
Okay, fine.
The number of times I've sat at home with my favourite bits of music and imagined, you know, and how wrong I was. There you go.
So here's the deal. All too soon, the best brass band in the world will go on stage with a conductor who's just had one lesson. There'll be no one watching, except for the live audience and millions of you lot.
I am nervous about this. I mean, of course, these guys have been playing for years, but you have to be a very tiny amount ahead of the band all the time. So it's a very subtle and clever relationship, and I have not mastered it.
But the show must go on. At Wakefield Opera House, the audience will soon arrive, and this is the nerve-wracked specimen that awaits them. Fills you with confidence, doesn't it?
Slow march. 1, 2, 3.
How you doing?
All right, mate. How are you?
Oh, very good. You?
I'm all right. I'm okay. Yeah.
Yep, quite ready?
Yeah. So much to remember. Oh.
I did think Roger might try and calm me down a bit, but no.
It's a difficult one to conduct.
Thank you.
No.
Is it? Is it really?
Yeah. Slow music always is. If you've got a march and just stood there.
Great, no pressure then. Still, as the hall fills up with 1,000 brass band aficionados, there's no turning back now.
This is what I call the posters up moments. You know, you're doing a play and you walk past the theatre and the poster's up with your name and you think, oh God, it's going to happen no matter what. I'm scared, actually.
But I just can't afford to be stressed now.
There, come to the stage now, please.
Alrighty.
It really is time to face the music.
A wop, bop-a-loop, pop-a-lum, bam, boom. Here we go, boy.
Follow me.
The band are on top form. You can see why they're thought of as the best in the world. And the audience are loving it. It's now or never, Bob. If I can just get that first beat right, I stand a chance.
You ready?
Are you ready?
What a relief. I don't have to run for the car park after all. You know, this is one of my favourite pieces of music. And to conduct such a talented group of musicians playing it, well, you can see for yourself what it means. My technique may owe more to a windmill than to Simon Rattle, but you know what? I wouldn't swap places with anyone right now. What an incredible experience. Thank you, Grimethorpe, and thank you, Wakefield, for a day I'll always remember. There's only so much you can pack into a journey like this. You need the occasional break. And as I'm up in Yorkshire, I've decided to call into a place that I've heard a lot about. It's a B&B like no other. A living, breathing convent complete with its own Renaissance chapel. When the intake of nuns started to dwindle, they decided to open their doors to paying guests. Divine inspiration, they'd argue.
I think this must be Mr. Coltrane.
Yes,
How do you do?
Sister Agatha is the nun in charge.
Good journey?
A wonderful journey. It's been incredibly sunny and beautiful, really. Yorkshire at its best.
Marvellous. Sister Gregory, this is Mr. Coltrane.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
And he's going to send us Nuns on the Run, our favourite view.
On DVD, by the way, with a good sound quality.
DVD, that's
After
it.
you, ma'am.
Sister Gregory, all right, you're going to...
I wonder if she'll be cooking up the full English. The amazing thing about this place is that it was built in secret at a time when Catholicism was outlawed. For at least 60 years, they worshipped here in fear of persecution.
The priest was saying Mass.
Yes.
He would have rushed out of there and he would have gone down into the priest's hiding hole, which is there, which was automatically built in, you see.
People could literally disappear and not be known.
Absolutely. There's a stairway down there, there's a place through there, another place through there, out through there. So it would be emptied. I have to say...
Have you ever timed it? Have you ever tried to fill it up and empty it?
Oh, well, we do it with the children. And if they get a bit restless, I say, count all the cherubs, and there are 600, so that keeps them occupied. Now.
Time to have a look at what the accommodation is like in this most amazing of B&Bs.
And I will be leaving you with a key, which means you can get in and out of the house as much as you like. You can have a rave up, and I won't have any idea.
I got it.
Such a lovely woman, that Sister Agatha. Hang on, no adult movie channel. I'll not be staying here then. One of the pleasures of driving through Britain's B roads is the place names. I mean, you don't come across villages like Buttock Point, Cockbridge and Shaggyburn when you're on the M6, now do you? Up in Yorkshire, I'm about to enter Mytholmroyd.
It does, I'm sorry, but it does sound like a cream, doesn't it? I could hardly sit down yesterday. Thank God for me Mytholmroyd.
This tiny Pennine village is home to the dock pudding, a unique breakfast dish whose main ingredient is wild dock leaves. Mytholmroyd is the only place it's made, and the locals are so proud of their pudding that once a year, today, they hold a world championship to find the best dock pudding maker. Ingredients are never varied, a tradition that's strictly enforced by local mayor and Judge Betty Ward, who frightens the life out of me.
Tradition is very, very important. It's just one of my things, because once a tradition is broken, then it gets forgotten and buried forever. So you should keep your traditions up if you can at all.
This particular tradition goes back centuries. When the village was so poor, the locals had to eat weeds. Today's dock pudding makers are keeping those humble memories alive. And now I'm going to help them by taking part in the annual competition. And first, I need the ingredients.
Picking bloody weeds out the side of a cycle path.
The leaves gathered, I persuade another pudding maker to lend me her kitchen. I then boil the dock leaves with stinging nettles, yes, onions and oats.
Should we put those in?
Now, tradition dictates that the pudding should also include bacon fat.
Okay.
But when vegetarian Yetta Howard won the championship 2 years ago, there was uproar. Because she left out the animal fat.
Burn the Witch, I think, was the headline,
Well,
wasn't it?
no. Do you want to see the headline? I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you.
Yeah. Whatever happened to the bacon?
Pudding judges stand in the dock.
Hang the bitch, drag her through, turn naked. They didn't like it, did they?
No. So I had to write my own little letter to the editor.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, great.
So I wrote one.
Why don't you all go and...
No.
I'm surprised they printed this fabric.
No, just a minute. No.
Yetta's little act of rebellion has inspired me. For my pudding, I've decided to add an extra ingredient I picked up back in Stilton.
Yes. Come to Daddy. Right.
Adding the cheese could put me on a collision course with Mayor Betty, who'll probably have me hanged under some local culinary law. Still, I think it'll taste rather good.
Oh, you can smell that cooking, actually. That smells jolly nice.
Do I get to taste?
You sure do.
Is it hot? Just going to burn myself.
Of course it's hot.
You've added a secret ingredient.
I may have done. That really is great, isn't it?
It is good. I really like it.
And we get Dockins all over the place where I live. Tons of them. When I'm having one of my Ponzi showbiz dinners, I go, guess what this is? I've had it on the estate. Right.
Now it's off to the championships, where I have to reheat the pudding with a full English breakfast in front of the whole village, including Betty.
Would you like to come through, sir?
Yes, please. Yes, let's go.
Yeah. It's a poor man's breakfast, you know, Fried with your egg and your bacon. I mean, there was a lot of oil today and it should never have been.
Sure.
They didn't have it in them days.
No, they didn't.
As you well know.
What would they use? Just a animal fat or something?
No, bacon
Dripping.
fat, for
Bacon
goodness
fat.
sake. Yeah, it's your breakfast, yeah.
Do you think a tradition is very important? Would you be very sad if this tradition was to stop like so many have?
Absolutely, because once this is gone, our heritage is gone.
Yeah.
It's unique. What fetches people are here. Heritage, what's
Yeah.
brought you here.
Surely.
Heritage, yeah. It's here, for goodness sake. Open your eyes and look around.
Well, that's me told. But the mayoress is only warming up. Because as the cookathon begins, each contestant's plate is taken backstage for Betty and her fellow judges to pass their verdict.
Quite nice.
So, has Mythelmroyd got talent?
Yeah. That was never cooked in a farmhouse kitchen. Somebody's trying to be a chef, I'm sorry. You don't have raw tomatoes with your breakfast. For the presentation, it is the overall look of it. That just doesn't look right.
I'm quite nervous, actually. I really am. I feel like I'm sort of got to do a show or something. I'm quite...
Evening. Hello.
Well, I'm right to be nervous. Cooking this pudding's hard enough, but I'm doing it in front of an audience. And these locals are experts.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And welcome to Celebrity Making an Arse of Himself. This is hilarious. You should see looking the other way. I'll just make sure these sausages are hot through. We don't want any salmonella, do we? You got first prize, but all the judges died. It were lovely, she said, as she passed away.
10 minutes of frantic cooking, and it's time for my dish to be judged.
Thank you very much, Lee.
Thank you. Not very pleasant. It's got something.
They're not too well at clearing stalks, though, are they? I mean, look at that.
That was nice and sweet, isn't it?
Amazingly, Betty and co seem rather impressed. They obviously haven't spotted the Stilton.
The main fear now is that I might win, in which case I'll probably get lynched.
Also, taste, texture and presentation.
Black pudding's lovely.
Because they'll say it's a fix, you see. They'll say, oh, the cameras were here in Fatty when there's something going on here. And then there'll be a punch-up with the mayoress, which she'll win, trust me.
Do you mind? Well, that's the highest pointed one so far.
Well, the votes are in. Let's go over to the returning officer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a result. I'd like to call in third place, Jane Kennedy. In second place, I would like to call Mr. Robbie Coltrane.
Well, there's a relief. Recognition for my efforts in the kitchen. But no cries of cheat. I even get a smile from Betty.
It's a rather brave and interesting thing to do, to call something the World Championship when almost no one else in the world's aware that it's going on. But there's something rather sweet about it. Because, well, I did come second.
Flushed with success, I'm going for a drive across the Yorkshire moors. Gorgeous. A huge expanse of open space, crisscrossed by miles of dry stone walls. They've managed to stand up for hundreds of years without a single drop of mortar. An incredible construction achievement, if you ask me. But then, the modern construction is not so bad up here either. The Emley Moor Tower near Huddersfield is the country's tallest freestanding structure, transmitting TV signals to the whole of Yorkshire, and for your viewing pleasure, I'm going up it. The things I do for you.
Makes you giddy just looking up at it. It is 330 metres tall, which is 10 metres taller than the Eiffel Tower. And they're making me go up in a tiny little lift. I don't want to. Sorry. How very unprofessional. And shortly I shall be striding onto the elevator and going to the very top. Can't wait.
The truth is, I'm petrified of heights. so this is not my idea of fun. It takes 7 minutes to get to the top. 7 minutes of pure hell for me.
Oh, bloody hell.
On a good day, you can see for 70 miles. But for me, this is not a good day.
Oh, dear God. Oh, pardon me. Oh.
Now, there's a very good reason that I'm so uneasy up here. Apart from my own fear of heights, the tower only exists because the last one collapsed. In 1969, freak cold weather coated the tower in ice and it fell down. Amazingly, no one was injured, but it did deprive 5 million people of Coronation Street. They say the current tower is a much better design, but being up here still brings me out in a rash. But in the spirit of journalistic endeavour, I need to stay to get the answer to the question that's nagging us all.
I wonder who cleans the windows.
They never did tell me. And come to think of it, they did look a bit on the grubby side.
Right, now the next thing is we're going to this lovely little village where apparently there is the oldest sweet shop in the whole of England.
Nestling up in the Dales, the Pateley Bridge store apparently still sells the same sugary delights it did when it opened back in 1827. I'm going to pop in to buy a big bag of goodies for my daughter from shopkeepers Keith and Gloria Tordorf.
Hello there.
Have you got any sweets?
Hi, Robbie.
Robbie, Keith Tordorf, my wife Gloria.
Nice to meet you.
Hello, Robbie. Anybody who comes to a sweet shop is happy because they've got a smile on their face as soon as they see the sweets and the jars, and whether you're a young child who's amazed or an older person who just reminisces.
They've got over 200 different kinds of rare sweets here, with names Willy Wonka would be proud of.
Marry me quick.
Right. Well,
Also known as unwanted pregnancy in some parts. No, then. What is it?
Right, I mean, this is a mint rock with a hint of bonfire toffee running through it.
A hint of bonfire toffee?
Yeah, but I mean, it is a very old-fashioned sweet.
Many of the sweets originate from the old chemist shops, where they were once used to treat all sorts of ailments, from coughs and fevers to constipation and even diarrhea. Or as Yorkshire folk call it, the skitties.
Certain things have medicinal purpose, such as mints for digestion, licorice for the bowel. Yeah. Even now, doctors send people to the sweet shop and say you're as well having some throat and chest sweets because it'll do you as much good as anything I can prescribe you and be a lot cheaper. It's rumoured that sarsaparilla drops, that has the effect of aiding sexual performance, poor man's Viagra.
Well, I couldn't possibly comment on that. But as for another of the shop's little treats...
Pontefract cakes are here.
I've not seen it.
Proper Pontefract cakes.
I was a child.
Now my doctor says I'm absolutely not allowed anything sweet anymore.
Oh, go on, just one.
Call me weak-willed, but I just can't resist.
Continuity-wise, remember what I'm wearing when I go into hospital.
Don't blame us.
They don't care. They'd love me to fall over and shout, oh, that episode we fell over. I love that.
Now it's time to sort that sugar fix for my wee girl.
She would love those.
Those?
Oh, violets. A sherbet fountain, obviously. Well, that's me.
That's you done.
£4,850 worth.
We only got up to £3.99, Robbie, on till.
That's not bad. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And so ends my tour of Yorkshire. Brass bands, dock puddings, and enough sugar-coated goodies to make my dentist faint. Sweet memories indeed.
Right, now I'm off to Lancashire to see one of their, well, frankly, more bonkers folk festivals. But on the way, I'm going to see a man, and his particular slightly bonkers obsession is lawnmowers. The lawnmower.
I'm entering Southport, home to Brian Radham. He spent his entire life selling, fixing, and collecting the pride and joy of every real man's garden shed. What Brian doesn't know about lawnmowers, quite frankly, isn't worth knowing.
principle has never changed in the last 200 years nearly.
Is that so, really? 200 years?
1830, invented by a gentleman called Edwin Beard Budding.
Follow me.
These are the best lawnmowers in the world. These were made in the 1920s. This one would have cost about the same price as a small house.
No.
Brian collects lawnmowers like Roman Abramovich collects yachts. He has 200-odd precious examples of all the classics. Royal Enfields, Rolls Royces, Hawker's Sidleys, and even one owned by Charles and Di. But I bet they never actually used it. And get Brian on the subject of lawnmower racing, yes, it really exists, and he can talk for hours.
It's really good fun. People like Sterling Moss, a keen lawnmower
Yeah,
racer.
I've seen film of him.
Noel Edmonds, Oliver Reed, he ran somebody over in a toilet tent on some of the early races.
So doesn't surprise me.
People said that he was half cut at the time, but there you go.
Half cut, get it? Lawnmower. Ollie Reed. Please yourselves.
They race under quite strict rules. It must originally have been bought to cut grass and not the rolling prairies of America.
Right, right. So no V8s then?
These machines have originally been made to go 6 miles an hour.
Exactly.
And once you start doing more than 30, they've got a mind of their own.
That's wonderfully mad. I love it.
This one here, it'll do up to 65 miles an hour. So quite quickly. Yeah, it's great fun.
And Brian should know, as he is a legend in the lawnmower racing world. Since 1985, he's won over a dozen trophies, including the North England Championship. You might be forgiven for thinking he's a bit different from the rest of us, but listen to this. Most British men actually spend more time cutting their lawns than making love. That's Englishmen, of course, not Scotsmen. The final stop on this leg of my fascinating journey is to the village of Ray. 15 years ago, Ray was a place with no folklore. While other villages had cheese rolling, well dressing, and dwile flonking festivals, poor little Ray had nothing. But now, for 1 week every summer, it gets taken over by some rather sinister characters. This is the Ray Scarecrow Festival. And the idea came about after its creator, David Hartnett, suffered a bit of a shock.
Could you tell us a bit of the history then, how this came about?
Well, it started in France, really. I was on holiday with my wife in the Pyrenees, and I happened to see a chap hanging from a tree. And it wasn't until I got fairly close to it that I realised actually it was a scarecrow. Anyway, I was going to actually go down to the local police, but in fact, when I got down into the village, there were loads of scarecrows around.
Fantastic.
As you can see.
Inspired by what he saw, David reckoned he could solve Ray's identity crisis by asking the villagers to make and display their own scarecrows.
It sort of took off straight away because it was so unusual.
Yes.
And once 2,000 people had been.
Yeah.
The next day we got another 2,000.
Of course, because they tell their friends.
Of course, they tell their friends.
Yeah.
The event is now one of Lancashire's top attractions. 10,000 tourists turn up by the coachload. And though most of them are even older than I am, they've really helped transform the village. Each year, the homemade scarecrows have a theme, and this year, it's Hollywood. So Rocky, SpongeBob, and Elvis all make an appearance.
What do you think that is? 101 Dalmatians.
Charming and insane. What a wonderful nation we are, really.
The scarecrows are considered works of art. One has even made it into the Tate Gallery. Though these lovely old dears have realised there's a superior artwork right in their midst.
Oh, yeah, she's chopped your head off. We're not having that. As long as that's all I've chopped.
But for me, the star of the show is my own film crew's homage to Bruce Willis's Die Hard, because unlike the other creations, this one actually scares the crows.
Oh! Way! Yeah, fantastic! Oh, there's a crow, look.
Yeah, she's gone.
There's a crow. Well, that's another 250 miles of my epic journey completed. And I've met a lot of interesting people who've decided to change the world or to change their neighbourhood and change their neighbours' lives because they just didn't like the way things were and they weren't discouraged. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing for everybody. And also, probably most importantly, they all seem to have a bloody good laugh doing it. And that is brilliant.
But there are still many more strange customs and weird and wonderful sights to go. Next time, I set off for the final leg of this mammoth journey, when I'll be witnessing the end of a huge landmark.
Whoa! 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 Yo! Yo!
Checking out Cumberland's most peculiar sport.
You don't often see two middle-aged women wandering around in a field looking at boys' underpants, do you?
And getting my fingers burnt in Glasgow's hottest kitchen.